All right, let's talk about Alan Bennett. I mean, if you're talking about British institutions, his name has got to be right up there. For what, over 60 years now, his voice, it's just so distinctively witty and poignant and so deeply human. He's really captured this unique slice of English life like no one else.
And this quote, this is everything. It's really the perfect key to unlocking his entire world, His genius is all in this incredible balancing act. He finds that perfect, bittersweet spot where comedy and tragedy they melt into each other, and you're left not knowing whether to laugh or cry. It's brilliant. So, what is it about his voice that's so unique? Let's dig into that signature style, the thing that makes you hear a line and just know. That's Alan Bennett.
When you really boil it down, it's this. He has this unbelievable talent for just watching, for observing the quiet, seemingly boring lives of totally ordinary people. And then somehow he pulls back the curtain and shows you all the profound humor and the deep sadness and the quiet dignity that was hiding there all along. He doesn't need big, flashy plots. For him, all the drama is right there in the tiny details.
And to really get the writer, you've got to understand where he came from, right? You have to understand the boy. So let's head back to his beginnings, back to the north of England, because that's really the bedrock of his whole perspective.
Yeah, this really paints the picture, doesn't it? He was born into this modest, working-class family up in Leeds. His dad was a co-op butcher, and both his parents had to leave school when they were just 13. But, and this is key, they were absolutely determined that their sons would get the education they couldn't. And his mother's social categories? Better class, ordinary, common. That tells you so much. It's this sharp awareness of class, not in some big political way, but in the day-to-day, a way of seeing the world that would pretty much become his trademark.
So you might think his entry into the literary world was all high-minded and academic, but nope, not at all. His first brush with a real literary giant was, well, wonderfully down to earth. And honestly, it's pretty funny.
See, as a kid, he used to deliver meat for his dad's butcher shop, and it turns out one of his customers was none other than the mother-in-law of, wait for it, T.S. Eliot. You can't make this stuff up.
And this story just perfectly captures that northern, no-nonsense perspective. So later on, his mom meets Eliot, and she hears he's won the Nobel Prize. Her reaction isn't about his poetry, the wasteland or anything. Nope, it was about his coat, a beautiful overcoat. I mean, that's just fantastic, isn't it? That kind of pragmatic, unimpressed, but deeply human way of looking at things, that's the foundation for so much of his writing.
So from that kind of background, his path was, well, anything but predictable. He ends up learning Russian during his national service, of all things. Then he wins a scholarship to Oxford, gets a first-class degree in history, and even becomes a lecturer in medieval history. But you know what? That academic life, it just wasn't for him. A much bigger stage was waiting in the wings.
Okay, so this is where it all comes together. We're in 1960. There's this satirical review at the Edinburgh Festival that's about to change not only his life, but honestly the entire landscape of British comedy, forever.
And that review was beyond the fringe. It was an absolute phenomenon. Just this incredibly sharp, witty show that took these four brilliant young guys, Bennett, Peter Cook, Dudley Moore, and Jonathan Miller, and just launched them. I mean, it catapulted them from total obscurity to instant, massive fame. For Bennett, this was it. This was the moment he became a household name.
And listen, this wasn't some flash in the pan. Not at all. You can just look at his career as a series of absolute landmarks. Just 8 years after Fringe, he has his first big stage play. Then comes the iconic Talking Heads series in the 80s, and then you have the global smash hit that was The History Boys. It's just consistent brilliance.
In this quote, this says so much about his artistic integrity. I don't work on commission, I just do it on spec. He doesn't write because someone pays him to. He writes what he needs to write. And if people don't want it, too bad. It's a super risky way to build a career for sure, but it's exactly why his voice has always remained so purely, authentically his.
So the big question is, how does he do it? How does he create these characters and stories that stick with you for years? Well, it all comes down to his very unique art of observation.
What's fascinating is that for such a great observer, he actually describes himself as being pretty shy. He says he's not someone who stares or scribbles in a notebook. He catches life out of the corner of his eye, in glimpses, in little phrases you overhear. He really believes the best, most truthful details are the ones you find when you're not even looking for them.
And just look at what he does with a single real-life story.
This is the perfect example. So there was this eccentric woman, Miss Shepherd, who literally lived in a van in his driveway for 15 years. And he took this unbelievable situation and just lived with it, and wrote about it, and explored it again and again. For over 25 years, it became an essay, then a book, then a stage play, a radio play, and finally a huge film.
This really shows you where his priorities are. I mean, the man turned down major honors from the Queen twice, including a knighthood. He said it would be like having to wear a suit for the rest of his life. But then, what does he do instead? He donates his entire life's work, all his papers, diaries, manuscripts, to Oxford's library. And he said it was a gesture of thanks to the welfare state and the public education system that gave him his start. Principles over prestige, right there.
And we absolutely have to talk about talking heads. You could argue that these television monologues are his most perfect form. Why? Because they're built on trust. He trusts the audience. You have a single character talking right to you. But the real story, that's in what they're not saying. It's in the gaps, the little self-deceptions. He gives you an unreliable narrator, and you have to piece together the heartbreaking or hilarious truth of their life from their words alone. It is an absolute masterclass in character and subtlety.
So you take all of this, that unique voice, the incredible career, those deeply held principles, and what you get is someone who is, without a doubt, a true national treasure.
And his legacy is just immense. Think about it. He's the last surviving member of that original, revolutionary Beyond the Fringe group. He's a fierce, vocal defender of public libraries. His work has, of course, been showered with awards. And on top of all that, through his published diaries, he's given us this incredibly candid, funny, and moving window right into his own life and his own mind.
I mean, just look at the awards. They really do speak for themselves. His work hasn't just been celebrated in the UK. It's been celebrated on both sides of the Atlantic. He's won the highest honors in TV with the BAFTAs, in British theater with the Oliviers, and on Broadway with the Tonys. It just goes to show you that his very English voice, well, it speaks to everyone.
And this quote, for me, this gets right to the heart of why his work lasts, why it endures. Because beyond all the incredible wit and the sharp observations, his ultimate goal is connection. It's that feeling when you're reading or watching, and you just think, wow, here is someone who knows what it's like to be me. That feeling of being seen, of being understood, that's what makes it all feel so real.
So, at the end of the day, after this incredible, long and storied life, what would the Alan Bennett of today say to his younger self? To that boy from Leeds, the butcher's son, wondering what on earth the future had in store for him?
The answer is this. Just a simple, profound, and deeply humane message of reassurance. A quiet acknowledgement that the journey, with all its twists and turns, was worth it. A perfect, poignant grace note to end on. Because in the end, it was more than all right.